Have you ever just stopped and thought about how strange humanity is? I mean, on one hand, we are capable of these incredible acts of cooperation and kindness. We build entire civilizations. We create breathtaking art. But on the other hand, we're also the species behind organized war, cruelty on a massive scale, things no other animal even comes close to. So how can we be both? That's what we're going to dig into today. This idea that maybe, just maybe, our greatest strengths are completely tangled up with our darkest impulses.
And this whole thing really starts with a problem that feels very right now. This is a post from an online community for therapists, and the person is asking for help with two types of clients that sound like they're on opposite ends of the universe. First, you've got the nihilists, the people who feel like life is totally meaningless. And then you've got people who are just drowning in guilt over their own privilege. They seem like totally separate issues, right? But what if they're not?
Let's just break that down for a second. The nihilist client is basically saying, why bother? It's all going to end in dust anyway. For them, trying to create purpose just feels like a joke. Then you've got the privileged client, who's struggling with the fact that they have advantages. It feels undeserved, and that creates this deep sense of moral anxiety and guilt. See? Both of them are wrestling with their place in the world. One feels a sense of complete pointlessness, and the other a sense of deep injustice.
And that really brings us to the heart of the whole question. What if these very modern anxieties, this feeling of futility, this guilt, aren't new problems at all? What if they're just the latest symptoms of a fundamental conflict that's been raging inside of us, inside human nature for thousands of years? A battle between our deep, primal drive to create and our equally primal impulse to destroy.
To really get our heads around this battle, we kind of have to go back to one of the biggest ideas in psychology. Sigmund Freud, he proposed that our minds are constantly being pulled in two directions by these powerful, opposing forces. You can think of it like a psychological engine and a brake.
So first, you've got the engine. Freud called it eros, or the life drive. Now, this isn't just about sex, though that's definitely part of it. Eros is the force behind, well, everything that keeps us going. Survival, connection, creativity, love. It's the instinct that pushes us to build families, form communities, make art, and just nurture life. It is the glue holding our world together.
But pulling in the complete opposite direction is the brake, or maybe it's more like a wrecking ball. He called this Thanatos, the death drive. Freud believed that we have an equally powerful, primal instinct pushing us towards aggression, destruction, and even self-sabotage. It's this deep, quiet impulse to just dismantle things, to aggress, to return everything to a state of calm, tension-free nothingness.
So if you buy into this theory, our entire inner life is just a constant tug of war between these two. Eros wants to build better, more connected things. Thanatos wants to just tear it all down. And here's the kicker. This epic conflict, it doesn't just stay neatly inside our own heads. Oh no, it spills out into the world in a very specific and often very dangerous way.
So how does this internal mess actually manifest out in the real world? Well, it gets projected. We take that inner conflict and we splash it all over our social lives, shaping how we form groups and, more importantly, how those groups treat each other.
There's a concept from evolutionary theory that just nails this: parochial altruism. The idea is that our ability to cooperate, what you might call in-group love, didn't just pop up on its own. It evolved right alongside our capacity for out-group hate. The very same instinct that makes us fiercely loyal and self-sacrificing for our tribe is genetically chained to hostility towards anyone who isn't in our tribe. They are two sides of the exact same evolutionary coin. You don't get one without the other.
And you can see this ancient programming getting triggered all over the place in modern life. Political slogans, social campaigns, they are masters at flipping this switch. They create a very clear us, the people who get it, the people who believe, and a very clear them, the ones who don't. These phrases aren't just words. They are powerful catalysts for group loyalty, channeling that deep-seated need we all have to belong, and to have a common enemy.
This whole thing leads to a really uncomfortable question, doesn't it? If we are all wired with this dual nature, this capacity for both incredible cooperation and intense aggression, how is it that good people, kind, considerate people, can end up doing, or at least justifying, some really destructive and harmful things against an outgroup? Well, the answer lies in the incredible psychological gymnastics we do to protect ourselves.
To put it simply, we have become absolute masters of denial. To square our self-image as a good person with our potential for destruction, we've developed these really sophisticated mental tools to just not know, to not acknowledge what we're actually capable of.
Carl Jung had a great term for this. He called it the shadow. Think of it as the dark basement of your personality. It's where we shove all the parts of ourselves that we find unacceptable. Our rage, our selfishness, our most primal instincts. We spend a ton of energy keeping that door locked to maintain our shiny public persona. But here's the problem. The more we hide it from ourselves, the more it ends up controlling us from the dark. And usually, it does that by making us see those very traits in other people.
A psychologist named Albert Bandura actually laid out the specific mental tricks we use to do this, to switch off our own morality. There's moral justification, where we tell ourselves that our harmful actions are for some greater good. We use euphemistic labeling, that's like calling civilian deaths collateral damage to make it sound sterile and clean. We displace responsibility, the classic, I was just following orders. And then there's the most dangerous one, dehumanization. That's when we strip our enemies of their humanity so we don't have to feel a thing when we hurt them.
Okay, so if repression and denial are the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's not trying to pretend our dark side doesn't exist. It's the exact opposite. It's about facing it head-on. The real path to a meaningful life, it seems, lies in owning all of who we are, the good and the bad.
And this brings us right back to those two clients we started with. The nihilist looks at all this darkness in humanity and says, see, it's proof. Meaning is impossible. We're just puppets of our primal drives. But there's another way. Existentialism looks at the same facts and comes to a totally different conclusion. It agrees that life has no built-in meaning, but it argues that this is actually amazing news. It means we have the ultimate freedom and the ultimate responsibility to create our own meaning, fully aware of all our flaws and our capacity for destruction.
So here it is, the core takeaway. Real psychological power isn't about crushing your aggressive instincts or pretending you don't have them. It's about being able to feel that raw anger, that primal energy from Thanos, and not be forced to destroy something with it. It's about the hard, lifelong work of conscious integration, of knowing your own shadow so it can't sneak up and control you from the dark.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. We've built a world that basically encourages us to deny these uglier parts of ourselves, to point the finger at others, and to hide out in the comfort of our own little tribes. But what if the greatest danger we face doesn't come from our dark side itself, but from our stubborn refusal to even look at it?